they talking real loud. Spreading on lies, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swilling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules. In this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track.
Another Queen Ahmadiyyah production.
Haze on the corner, they talking real loud. Spreading on lies, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swilling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules. In this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. Haze on the corner, they talking real loud. Spreading on lies, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swilling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules. In this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah, and this is your daily vitamins. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. All right, so let's see who's in here. Juju B, Claudette, Deronda. All right, let's get into it. DJ Big Six, Yvette. All right, LL, I see you, beloved. Pretty Wings, Bronze Flat Power God. Okay, Dark Tube. Okay, Nene, Starseed Oracle. All right, Juju's being nefarious in the chat, talking about haters on the corner. Cassandra is here. All right, Reggie. So let's get into it. Let's get into it. Everybody hit that like button, please, to like and share. All right, Desmond said, no arguing in the chat and no disrespect. You will be punished. Okay, you will be punished. Y'all heard what he said. Now, that's the chief moderator, and don't make him say it twice. All right, he said what he said. Okay. Millicent Shoshana. Shoshana said, no notification. The nerve. Okay, how low down can they get? Mally C. All right. So anyway, listen, I love me some Royals. I see you, Nessa G. So let's get ready to get into it. Everyone hit that like button. Also, don't forget, hey, Deronda, don't forget to double check and make sure you're still subscribed, especially if you haven't been receiving your notifications. Y'all know how low down and dirty they do the poor little old queen, honey. They just won't let me be great. Okay. Okay, so anywho, with that all being said, Let's have a brief word from our sponsor at 12 Tribes, and then we'll get into the nefariousness of it all, honey. Okay, let's get into it. Here we go.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
All right, so don't forget you can purchase 12 Tribes hair oil at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Crafts, and you can also find it at Walmart.com. And she also sells beard oil. Okay, so now with that all being said, let's get into it. So first we're going to talk about this island. Okay, it's called Rattlesnake Island. Okay, so let's talk about it because this is just a short distance from Put-in Bay, which sits in 85-acre private island owned by one of the most exclusive clubs in the country. Now, membership reportedly costs 60,000 to over 100,000, depending on what type of membership you get. And you can't even apply unless 2 members personally decide to sponsor you. Now, also, they have a membership list where there's no more than 65 people allowed to have a membership at a time. The only way you can get in is if someone either not sells their membership, but someone leaves, okay, and they no longer want to be a member. Okay, so it's very exclusive and it's been shrouded in mystery. And there's all kinds of rumors that have surfaced about this place. So, anyway, the island has its own airstrip, yacht docks, private security patrols, and a tiny golf course that sometimes runs down the runway. But the real intrigue comes from the mystery and rumors surrounding it. Okay, so let's talk about it. Now, they also say that they have armed patrol. They have people on boats out in the woods surrounding the area and all of that. And people who get too close, they get shooed away real quick. Now, they say history tells us that rattlesnakes used to inhabit the island, which is where the name comes from. The shape of the island is also reminiscent of a rattlesnake's head. Now, that is where the name came from, although it seems odd that rattlesnakes inhabited that island, but nowhere else in the area. Okay, I find it all interesting. Now, they say by the mid 19th century, some of the local islands began to establish post offices, and Rattlesnake became a part of Put-in Bay Township. The dormant island changed when it was bought by Toledo businessman Hubert D. Bennett. Now, Bennett built a lodge, a harbor, and a landing strip for small aircraft. The island again switched hands to James Frankleton in 1959. Now, let me just show you what the island looks like. So Frankleton and his associate Schull further developed the island, but due to harsh economic conditions, were forced to sell it. Now, after the sale, the island became a private island. Frankleton and 65 investors then repurchased the island in 1999. So, due to the privacy of the island, there have been many rumors about mobsters and other illegal activity on the island. One of the current owners said the rumors are not true and were used to scare people away from the island during the winter months when the lake freezes and the island becomes accessible on foot. Now, that's what they say about the mobsters. Okay, they say that they had rumors about mobsters, but they basically allowed those rumors to persist because they felt like that was a good way to keep people away from the island. Because, because of the mystery, people would try to sneak around and try to, try to find out what's going on. And so they basically let them keep that rumor. They say it was a rumor, but you never know. Okay, but I find it interesting because there were many oddities supposedly about this island. Now, here's what someone said. They said, on my last flight from Michigan, I had the opportunity to fly over Rattlesnake Island, just a few miles out into Lake Erie of Port Clinton, Ohio. This place is kind of a local enigma in that the entire island is privately owned by a club of wealthy businessmen and known for its secrecy. Accessible only by an aircraft or boat, public access is prohibited, and any strange boats that draw near will allegedly be run off by armed private guards in one of the island's two security boats. Membership in the club is limited to 65 people, and the buy-in is expensive and comes only after a prospect is recommended by an existing member and undergoes a background check with emphasis on their finances and their business connections. Please pay attention. Now, there are only 15 lots on the island, 12 of which have residences on them. Property ownership and membership is reportedly done through a trust to keep the members' names private. What do y'all think about this? I think about this. They put it in a trust to keep the members, like the members' names are absolutely private. And so the residents travel around the 85-acre island on golf courts, and the only apparent common facilities there are the clubhouse that occupies the airport golf course and golf course building. Now, come summertime, the island staff is bolstered by numerous Eastern European women, but most of the year it appears to be merely a small caretaker staff. There's not a whole lot of information out there about the place aside from a few articles. Now, there is an exception, however, and it's rather extensive. It's rather an extensive probe done by Cleveland Scene in 2008, where there are claims that the island is really a seedy little place where the Eastern European women are basically kept as slaves, okay, for the season, and the rest of the staff is treated pretty shabbily as well. Now, I'm telling you right now, this is giving me blink twice. This is giving me blink twice vibes. I want you, doesn't it, Cassandra? Said it sounds very fishy. Reggie said they have always lived or wanted to be outside, anywhere we are not. Exactly. Okay, so I just find it very interesting. Okay, because the rumors that I've heard about this is that there was trafficking going on. Okay, now I can't substantiate it. Now, take it all for what it's worth, but since this island was a discussion, uh, topic among a few of us at one of the after parties at the NRA convention, I decided to take a closer look on the way home since my flight path took me right over the place. Okay, and here are some pictures of it. I'm going to share my screen. You invested private for what, honey? Okay. Was it like Epstein's Island? Because those are the rumors. Those are the rumors. Please pay attention. Okay, now here are several pictures. There's a whole lot of secrecy going on, I'll say that much. Now, there were supposedly some nefarious allegations. So let's talk about it. One person said, I have extended family in Sandusky, and there is an island nearby named Rattlesnake Island. Excuse me, not sure how many of you have ever heard about it, as it's rarely mentioned anywhere. Anyways, it's an island seldom talked about even by the locals. Now, my extended family didn't even know what was on it when I mentioned it to them, and they grew up in the area. There is a private resort. There are only a few, where only a few members come, and they have lots of connections and lots of money. And so I can only speculate as to what goes on there, but it seems that it's nothing good. And people have speculated, and some have said that it is a PDF file island that predates Jeffrey Epstein's island. Okay. Now, like I said, I can't substantiate any of this, but I do find it very interesting. And we'll talk about why I find it so interesting. Um, because I did some digging and I found some stuff that I thought was very interesting. And I'm like, wait a minute, does this have anything to do with this island? Okay, now listen to this. Another person who lives in Sandusky, because Sandusky is right there by it. Okay, this person says, I live in Sandusky. I even tried to work at Rattlesnake Island in high school. They hold their interviews in Marblehead, Ohio. I don't know if that's to keep the secret or if it's just cheaper to interview on the mainland. I didn't get the job. But in sixth grade, we took a class trip to South Bass Island. It's one of the Put In Bay Islands. And that's also where this island is as well, Put In. Now, off South Base is a smaller island called Stone Labs. It's a nature research facility. We studied birds, dissected fish, etc. At one point, we went out on a boat to measure a part of the lake. And as we approached Rattlesnake, a small boat with two guys came around the side of the island and started to watch us with binoculars. We started turning away, and a second boat came from wherever the first one came from. It was super strange. It's ingrained in my memory. I was sitting near the captain, and when he saw those boats, I could feel fear or at least anxiety coming from him. Sandusky is a crazy place. Lived here all my life. Before it was a city, it was a Freemason temple in the middle of the woods. Then Freemasons started to settle around the temple. Okay. Um, they started to settle around the temple, and you had to be a third degree Mason or higher, and then those were the only ones allowed to live there. It was called Portland, Ohio back then. It was supposed to be what Cleveland is now, but the Rockefellers, now we know we've heard about them, but the Rockefellers had other plans. Our streets were designed by Henry Kilbourne, a 33rd degree Mason. He also helped design Washington, D.C. streets. There's a pentagram and all sorts of ish in D.C. Now, Sandusky is the same. Our streets form a compass and square, a Freemason symbol. There is a fountain at the top of the square and compass that looks like an all-seeing eye. It's called Shade Melander or Mylander. They were the first two families to settle Sandusky. These families still live there. Almost all of them are Freemasons or a member of the Order of the Eastern Star, which is the co-ed women Freemasons. 3 or 4 main roads lead to the temple. One of those roads is called Templar Brotherhood Highway. Okay, think about the Knights Templar. Okay. It was renamed Tiffin Avenue in the 60s or 70s. There's been rumors as of late of witchcraft and satanic rituals taking place in church basements and at city officials and known residents of the city's city officials' houses. Also, there's rumors here and there of some PDF file stuff going on. That's the Jerry Sandusky tie-in. Ish is really weird. Okay, I want y'all to pay attention. I want you all to pay attention. Now, with that all being said, let's talk about Dr. James Frackleton. This is the man who purchased it, then sold it due to financial issues, and then repurchased it with a group of 65 people in 1999. So Dr. James P. Frackleton was a key owner of Rattlesnake Island in Lake Erie. He and Robert C. Schull purchased the island in 1959, later selling it in 1989 due to financial issues. Dr. Frackleton, a Cleveland surgeon, later repurchased it with 65 investors in 99. Now, Rattlesnake Island in Lake Erie, Ohio, covers approximately 85 acres. Okay, we know all that already. Now, with that all being said, hold on. Okay, I think this is just repetitive. Now, here's why I find this interesting, because let me tell you, I was doing some research because there were some allegations. There were some allegations of a girl. I think she was like 9 or 10 years old. Dorina said he definitely looks frackled. Okay, goodness ready, both of you are on late. Were you late again? No, beloved, I actually told you all on the earlier broadcast. I told you all on the earlier broadcast that I was coming back at 9 o'clock, but I didn't get here till 9:45. I mean, I guess I am late if that's the case, but nonetheless, okay. So anyway, with that all being said, hold on, because hold on. Let me send this to my email real quick. And so there was a lady who said there were some allegations about a girl who was like 9 or 10 years old, something nefarious supposedly happened to her there. And then there was a man, an attorney by the name of Michael Mirren. We're going to get into him. Now, I don't know if he was an investor in Rattlesnake Island, but what I do know is the story and the information I found out about him is very similar to Jeffrey Epstein. And I'm talking about very similar to Jeffrey Epstein as far as not only him being accused of trafficking, but a month before his trial, he turns up dead. And they never really said how he died. So I thought that was real interesting. Okay, so let's go to this video. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Now, I don't know for a fact if Michael Mirren had anything to do with this island, but he was in Ohio and he was only a short distance from this island, like 3 hours. And remember, people can only get there by boat or plane because it's very secluded. Okay, so likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Okay, here we go.
There may be another Jeffrey you-know-who island. Now, you guys have been screaming at me from the comments from my last 2 videos to look into this place called Rattlesnake Island. And just from a 30-minute simple research, things are definitely sketchy. For those that do not know, because I did not know what Rattlesnake Island was before you guys were screaming at me to investigate it, it's in a lake called Lake Erie in Ohio. Now, this is a special resort for only the wealthy to go to, and those who are invited to go in. This island looks really small in the pictures, but it has 85 acres of land. And it has a privately owned airstrip that no one else can use. And it's owned by Dr. Frackleton and 65 other investors, but Dr. Frackleton has since passed on. And if you look this guy up, he talked to the Supreme Court because he got into some trouble during his surgeries. But Rattlesnake Island is known for its assaults and possible human trafficking. In 2014, there was a report and other reports made to the police department because a woman was drugged and she did not know what happened to her. And the police told her not to make a big fuss of it. And in 2020, they started investigating because they received several complaints for 19 years because people believe that there was human trafficking happening on the island. Several people from around the island and have worked there because of just being the help and those that lived by, they noticed that there was boats going out really late at night and not coming until really early in the morning. And basically, they came up with squat. But the man leading it is Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost. And Dave Yost has a history for not taking sex crimes seriously. He told multiple girls not to make a big fuss of it, and told a 10-year-old girl that she was lying and refused to take her case because there was little evidence. But the man later confessed to what he did to that 10-year-old girl. And we also know the big history with the Epstein Island. And if you don't know, the big, huge scandal in Fox Islands, both owned by wealthy elites. Now, of course, everything here is alleged until proven guilty and proven real in court. But a lot of Ohioans and a lot of people were begging me to look into Rattlesnake Island, and I plan to continue to look into it because there's something going on in Ohio, and thousands of people are going missing every.
Okay, I find this all nefarious and very interesting, and a whole lot more than just a mere coincidence, especially after I found out about this attorney. Okay, now let's go to this next clip.
What if I told you that in a small southern town, 14 girls came missing back in 2013, right around the same time as Jeffrey Epstein and all his little shenanigans? What if I told you that one of his co-conspirators, Lex Wexner, lived 35-minute drive there and back? What if I told you that whenever they talked to one of these girls, the sidekick actually told them that she was buried in salt and under salt near water? But what if she was talking about salt water because she went to the island? Now, I've been saying this Ohio's own Epstein Island for about 6 months now. Let me also include that the prosecutor, the judge, the bail bondsman, and a lawyer were all also included. Now it gets even better than this. What if I told you that that same man that was charged in most of these trafficking rings in Portsmouth, Ohio, passed away the night before his trial? What if I also told you that there's reports that they have seen this man in France and other places? Does this not sound like a play out of their playbook? You let me know. Ohio's own Epstein Island. I'm the real Rilo signing off.
Wait a darn minute here. Okay, he just answered my question. Let me just tell you all. Okay, now here's the thing. I literally just uploaded his video. I didn't even watch it. I went to TikTok just to get some videos other than the stuff that I found. And I saw his video, so I sent his and that girl's. Now, with that all being said, he literally said an attorney was involved and he died. That's the attorney. So let's get into it. I knew there had to be a connection. I knew it. I said because he lived in Portsmouth, and that's like 3 to 4 hours from Rattlesnake Island. And we know that they go there by plane or boat. So that's not a long distance if you're traveling that way. Okay, this is all nefarious. Let me pull up the receipts on this man. Oh, before I do, let's go to this other video real quick. Now, this is the same lady. I haven't seen it, but she says, the title says there's more islands, human trafficking islands, plural, in Ohio. So let's get into it.
Ohio. And yes, you heard me correctly. Islands, plural. A lot of you have come forward and told me that you guys saw a lot that has happened on some very particular islands. Now, I'm not going to out any of their names or show the messages because their safety is incredibly important. There are a lot of big people in Ohio that can harm them, and I don't want that happening. But a lot of you guys told me to look into the islands that have animal names. And due to the comments that I received, an island caught my attention, and that is the South Bass Island. And there is a large human trafficking ring that is going around Lake Erie, and they are threatening and buying out police officers. And they turned your attention to Chief Kimball, and they offered Chief Kimball a large sum of money to look the other way. And he denied that money, and soon they started making threats. They found where he lived. They started following him, and they have deep connections to the islands South Bass and in the Lake Erie area. And Chief Kimball tried to bring this to your district attorney and also to the FBI, and they all looked the other way and said nothing was going on. And those men, who they have their names, have never been arrested. And they own a large strip club in Lake Bass. Now, this is South Bass Island, and it's right next to Rattlesnake Island. And Rattlesnake Island recently was put on sale for a surprisingly cheap amount of money. And I found some investors of Rattlesnake Island. And you guys are correct, Bob Sorbertini is an investor of that island, allegedly. And William Scala, which is a large family in Ohio, also is an investor. And he has a really large house. And Craig Helsinger is an investor, and he's a large real estate investor in Cincinnati, Ohio. And this dude named Bud, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. This is incredibly heartbreaking because human trafficking runs deep in these islands. Whether you believe Rattlesnake Island is actually another Jeffrey Island or not, there has been 20 years of reports reported to the police of Lake Erie. Police chiefs being bought out, and the FBI and the district attorney's office is just looking the other way and telling these women and these young men that they are liars, and nothing has happened in 20 years. And from the stories that you guys have told me of hearing children screaming and coming forward to the police and they look the other way and tell you that you're delusional, it's all incredibly heartbreaking. If you guys have any stories, please feel free to DM me or write it down in the comments. I promise that I will be around and I will respond, even if it may take me a couple days. The only way that we are going to get answered, the only solution that I can find is that we put social pressure on Dave Yost and the police department. We talk about it and we do legal protests, because that is the only way that we are going to actually stop human trafficking in Ohio. We need to force the narrative. Now do whatever you can to help share this with other Ohioans. Like, share, comment. So all
This is all nefarious. Now listen to this. So breaking, Portsmouth lawyer indicted for 18 counts of human trafficking has died. Now this was reported November the 26th of 2021. Attorney Michael Miron, a lawyer who was indicted for human trafficking charges, has died, according to his attorney. Okay, General Dave Yost. Attorney General Dave Yost. Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost and Socio County Prosecutor Shane Timon. Scitio, or I think it's Scitio County Prosecutor Shane Timon announced last year the indictment of Portsmouth attorney Michael Miron on 18 felony counts related to human trafficking, spanning 15 years. Now, Miron was 75 years old. He had faced more than 70 years in prison if convicted. Now, the charges stem from criminal activity in Southern Ohio that occurred from 2003 to 2018 and involved at least 6 victims. They include 1 count of engaging in a pattern of corrupt activity, 3 counts of trafficking in person, 5 counts of compelling prostitution, and 9 counts of promoting prostitution. Now, the case was investigated by a human trafficking task force excuse me, as part of AG Yost Organized Crime Investigations Commission. Now, the task force consisted of representatives from the Portsmouth Police Department, Department of Public Safety's Intelligence Unit, and Ohio Investigative Unit, and the Attorney General's Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation. So according to Post, Mirren suffered a heart attack and died later that day. Now, that's what people were saying online. Okay, and there's a post that the Attorney General made on social media on his X account where he was talking about the man died. He says, but at least he died publicly charged for his crimes. And his victims knew the dignity of being heard and believed. They have survived him. No, they didn't get heard and believed. Okay, because this man's not even dead. I don't think this man's even dead. This is a whole nother Epstein debacle. Now I want you all to think about the other guy that I told you all about, Francis Sheldon. That man owned an island, was accused of the same nefarious things. This is all crazy. We have been hoodwinked and bamboozled for years, decades, because they literally have all of these different islands. And then think about Blink Twice, how they were on an island. They weren't just talking about Epstein's island, clearly. Also, pay attention. That guy said that Jeffrey Epstein's friend, whom I think was his lover, and it also came out something about that in the Epstein files about them being possibly lovers. And I told you all that like years ago when I first found out about Lex Wexner giving him all that cash. But nonetheless, he said Lex Wexner lived not that far from that island. This is all crazy. Do y'all know what kind of stuff they have going on in this world, honey? All demonic. These people are nefarious. Now, hold on, because I think I have a news clip from CBS. Let me see here. No, that's not it. Hold on. Hold on. Give me just a second. I'm going to try to find a I thought I had one. Hold on for a second. I could have sworn I had a video report. Yeah, I do have one. Here it is right here. Oh, that's not it either. Hold on, beloveds. I'm trying to find this video because I know I had found a video report. Yeah, here it is right here. Okay. Here it is. Lawyer facing human trafficking and prostitution charges dies in hospital. And you know, this was reported like 4 years ago. And sadly, this news report only got 335 views. Let's go to it. Juju said all the way down to SpongeBob's address is Epstein Island's address. Okay, we talked about that a few years ago. And also, do you all remember? Tell me once in the chat if you all remember me showing you all a few years ago when I first started talking about Epstein, probably back in 2020, that I was showing you all how Epstein's Island is the Nickelodeon logo, or the Nickelodeon logo is shaped like Epstein's Island. Okay.
For you tonight on a human trafficking case out of Portsmouth. We've been tracking this one for a while, but since Friday when there were some new developments.
So 13 News reporter Natalie Wada, she joins us now live where she's been digging into the death of a key suspect scheduled to go on trial in January. So Natalie, what did you find out?
Well, Marilee, Amanda, behind me is the former law office of Michael Marin. Just a few moments ago, I got off the phone with his attorney. He tells me Marin died in a hospital on Friday. And now, of course, we don't have the official cause of death just yet, but his attorney tells me Marin did have a history of heart issues. Investigators suspected Marin of working with a city judge to release female suspects on bail or parole in order to traffic them as prostitutes. His charges list 6 female victims, but some we spoke with speculate that there may have been many more. Now, with his passing, many in the community are left wondering what's next for this case and whether victims in the case and their families will find any answers.
I feel that to honor them and to respect the risks that they took and respect the horrendous things that they went through, that this investigation can't die, that it has to go forward.
We've reached out to the Ohio Attorney General's office and are waiting to hear back on what the next steps in this case will be. However, Moran's lawyer anticipates the case will be dismissed once a death certificate is issued. Now, coming up tonight on 13 News at 6, I speak with the Scioto County Sheriff about what the issue of prostitution and human trafficking really looks like locally. For now, reporting live in Portsmouth, Ohio, Natalie.
Isn't that something? Isn't that something? Now, take a look at this. For those of you who may have missed it, when I showed you this years ago, that's Epstein's Island. And that is the Nickelodeon symbol. I'm sorry, don't they look really similar? Okay, I find it all interesting. And let's not forget how I did that story about Nickelodeon, Quiet on Set. You all remember that? So we know that Nickelodeon was involved in some shady shenanigans too, as it pertained to children. And so has Disney also been accused of having PDF files, secret underground tunnels, and all of that. Do you all remember me exposing that? I'm gonna have to bring some of that footage back up because some of y'all probably forgot, and new people probably never even heard of it, honey. Okay, now listen to this. This is a report from CBS. A veteran attorney from Southern Ohio was charged last year with human trafficking involving 6 women, most former clients. Now, he's died, according to published reports. Michael Miron had been taken to a hospital on Wednesday and died there Friday from undisclosed. Please pay attention. Why is it undisclosed? From undisclosed health complications. And this is according to his attorney, Michael Sywert. Okay, now, a cause of death has not been determined. Miron was 75 years old and he suffered from diabetes and congestive heart disease, according to officials. Miron had denied the accusations against him, saying in a court filing that the allegations were based on testimony from numerous felons who received favorable treatment for cooperating with investigators. Now, he was charged in October of 2020 with promoting prostitution, compelling prostitution, human trafficking, and engaging in a pattern of corrupt activity, and was facing more than 70 years in prison if convicted on all counts. So Miron pleaded not guilty to the charges in October and was freed after posting bail. The Ohio Supreme Court had suspended his law license in February after the state attorney's disciplinary board sought the move, saying Miron was a danger and that immediate action is necessary to stop this predatory threat. Now, the alleged trafficking was based in Portsmouth, a city about 100 miles east of Cincinnati along the Ohio River, where Miron operated a law firm and had served on the city council. Authorities said in court documents that he targeted women who were poor, addicted to drugs, and facing criminal charges to take part in a prostitution ring during a 15-year period beginning in 2003. So what he was basically doing was making these poor women do things they didn't want to do, and holding it over their head that they had charges or that they were on illegal substances. This is all nefarious. Mm, mm, mm. Said he was running a whole trafficking ring, and dozens of women, this is another report, dozens of women told Local 12's James Pilcher that Miron lured them as a way to keep their rug habits going and would send them around the country as prostitutes. And some of these women said that it started off, they would have to be with like one person, and then other men would show up and they would have to do things with all of them. Okay, isn't this something? And they say judges, politicians. Okay, they say judges, politicians, all types of rich, wealthy people, just like with the Epstein thing. Okay, I find it all so interesting. This is absolutely nefarious. Hold on, let me see something really quick, beloveds. I'm consorting with Chat GPT. Almost done, beloveds. You have to be very specific with Chat GPT when you're asking certain things, I notice. So it says some victims reportedly expressed fear of the local legal system because I was asking whether judges and politicians were involved. Okay, so they say there were unsubstantiated claims of politicians and judges that were participants, but nothing verified. Please pay attention. That's because the case never made it to trial. Some victims reportedly expressed fear of the local legal system or believed they wouldn't be believed because of Marin's position and his connections. In cases like this and others nationally, it's not uncommon for rumors to circulate about wider involvement. It's down somewhere, Chat GPT. Now it goes on to say, in other trafficking cases, like those tied to Jeffrey Epstein, allegations about powerful figures also appeared, and even there, some accusations were later dismissed. Okay, did I ask you all of that, ChatGPT? Quit caping for the PDF files. Okay, so I find it interesting. They were afraid of law enforcement, and that's because law enforcement was likely involved. Because this happens a whole lot in Ohio, from what I've been finding. Okay, and I think that much of it is absolutely tied to that island and other islands surrounding. Okay, this is all nefarious. All right, so anyway, let's talk about these other stories, specifically this thing that soldiers claim to have seen when they were in Afghanistan. Now, I actually heard this story years ago, probably, I want to say maybe around the early 2000s, maybe like 2005 or 6, somewhere around there, I think. It's been a while since I heard the story. Now, what I initially heard was there were some soldiers in Afghanistan, and they were in an area where there was a cave. And they smelled this foul stench. It was very pungent, according to reports. And so this creature came running out of the cave with this huge thing in its hand, like some sort of sword or something sharp. And it had this long red hair, okay, and smelled of all be damned, okay? And so anyway, but let's get into it because there is a couple of people who talk about this who actually say they saw it. Okay, likes up, everyone, please like and share. Now, I may have to use overlays on some of these because these are interviews. Here we go. And this creature, they called it the Giant of Kandahar because that's where it was supposedly seen, in Kandahar, Afghanistan. And there's been multiple reports, and they say that I'm just going to let y'all hear it. I find it all interesting, but why does the government like to keep stuff like this a secret? Okay, because that's what's been alleged.
The story is this. We're in Afghanistan. We're looking for high-value targets. A patrol is dispatched. They missed their rally point. Nobody knows where these guys are. So the next morning, another patrol is dispatched to the same location to try to follow this trail, see where they go in the Kandahar province. And as they're coming around the corner, they start to see what looks like parts of uniforms, bones, blood. And before anybody can do anything, a nightmare comes out of the cave. 14-footer. He's got flaming red hair, 6 fingers, 6 toes. He is screaming at the top of his lungs. He is brandishing a lance. One of the men break away and start firing at this thing moves with such agility and speed that it stuns the rest. Everybody's like, this soldier is impaled, and the giant's holding it up, screaming at the top of its lungs. Somebody yells, shoot him in the head, shoot him in the head. They open up fire, and they basically decapitate him. What does that sound like? David and Goliath, right? He's dead. They radio him, and a big, Jolly Green Giant helicopter comes in. They crate this thing up in the net. They fly him out of there. Patrol goes back, and they write everything down, and then they're told, rewrite the story without the giant. So they do that. So you say, well, that's a colorful story, LA. And it is. I get that. We have a second witness. who was there a few years after the event. So he's there and they're doing cave fighting training, right? And they're told, when you're in a cave and if you confront something, aim high. I mean, like here? No. High, 9 to 10 feet high. And all the soldiers are going like, what are we looking at here? Years later, a gentleman called me up and wanted to get in touch. He said he was part of a government operation that received the giant bodies. And then
more than one.
And then processed them to go to Wright-Patterson Field. I mean, I've had people come up to me at conferences and just go, LA, I want to tell you everything about the Kandahar giant. It's real. I know. I can't come on the record. I'm active military. And he just backs out and walks away.
I'm sorry, I forgot I was muted. Now, here's the thing. I find this all very interesting because why would these soldiers make this up? And there's multiple soldiers who've spoken about seeing these things. And also, actually, some of them who claim to have seen it were actually out there searching for some missing soldiers. That's why they were sent, because people came up missing from their group. Okay, so I absolutely believe it. And I think it's all nefarious, but let's continue. Okay, maybe this is what some people call Bigfoot. I just have questions. Okay, this is likely a Nephilim, if you ask me.
I saw aliens, but I didn't know they were aliens until I went to my next unit and I was on staff duty. And this soldier came up to me and he was like, "Hey, Sergeant Rivera, do you believe in aliens?" I'm like, "Nah, I don't know. Maybe there has to be." And he was like, "I'm going to show you a video that's going to convince you that aliens are real." And I'm like, all right. So he pulls out his laptop and they're using they're recording with this camera that you can see miles away. Man, I forgot the name of the camera, but it was like this long pole, and at the top there was a camera, and you could see thermal, regular, and night vision. You could zoom in, you could see everything. And he was operating the camera, and there was these two glowing balls above a river, and it looked like they were like sucking something up from the river, like water or something. And they're talking in the background. And they're like, "Yeah, what are these two things?" And you can hear like the Air Force dudes over the radio. And they're like, "Hey, we're going to fire on them." And they gave them the go ahead, which like blew my mind. I'm like, "You guys are going to fire on that? What is that?" It kind of looked like police lights with a normal camera just floating in the sky. And that's what I used to see when I was in Afghanistan. But I just thought it was like helicopters, a Chinook or something, you know? Then there's two jets. One of them shoots a missile. It goes through both of them. They explode, stop, and come back together and continue doing what they were doing over the river. And
Okay, Bianca says, "I've never heard of this, but do you understand there's chemical warfare as well? So they may see, so what they see may not process." Well, here's the thing. Even if people were hallucinating, as you suggested, I doubt very seriously they would all hallucinate and see the same exact thing. Okay, that's not going to happen. That's just not going to happen. When people are hallucinating, I doubt very seriously if different people would all be seeing the exact same thing, because they may have done illegal substances or due to chemical warfare. That makes no sense. And at the end of the day, there's footage of this thing. Okay.
watched this video so many times I couldn't believe it. Then two more appeared. So now there's four of them. And in the video, after the rocket goes through and they explode and come back together like nothing happened, you can see the jet in the video swerve off, and the Air Force guy's like, "I'm out of here." And one of my soldiers has this video. And I've been begging him. I'm like, "Give me the video. If you're not going to post it, give it to me, because I guarantee I get millions of views." Because the audio in the background, they're switching from regular to night vision to thermals. The video will, like, you'll be like, "There's aliens." Okay, now I believe. He has a
Hold on. Do you all remember when I did this story like maybe 2 years ago, maybe 3? But he's talking about those night vision goggles. Do you all remember how I told you all there were stories of soldiers saying that they saw demons and things when they were wearing those goggles? Because it gave them like almost like X-ray vision, and they ended up changing the color. I think they were initially red, and then they changed it to green. Do you all remember that? I did a whole video about it, and it was numerous soldiers saying this. The night vision goggles. So they changed the stuff they put in them for the coloring or whatever. There was one that said it was actually on the back of the aircraft that he was flying. Reggie said it was the red spectrum. Yes. Okay, so I'm telling you, honey, I believe all of it, honey, because I definitely believe in aliens. I definitely believe in that. Now, Bianca says they shouldn't be seeing the exact same thing if there's mystical creatures. Well, yeah, they would see the same thing. And here's why they would see the same thing. It's a very simple explanation. If there's mystical creatures and there's one specific of those creatures living in that cave, okay, in that part of Afghanistan, that's why they would see the same one. Think about that. Okay, think about that. If there was one specific creature living in that particular cave where the people came up missing and they went to go search for them, and they all say they saw this tall, red-haired creature, well, that makes sense to me because they all just saw the same creature. Okay? They all just saw the same creature, right? Why would it have to be that they all shouldn't have seen the same thing? That doesn't even make sense to me.
Most convincing video. I always ask him for the video. He says he doesn't know where it's at, but he also said that these people came to his base in Afghanistan and they like took all the videos. I don't know if that part is true because you know people be exaggerating, but I've seen the video for myself, and it's the most convincing video. He said that somebody already posted it, but the video I seen, it's like all blurry, and you can see, you know, it looks similar, but the one he has is perfect. Like you can hear the pilots in the background over the radio. You can hear him talking. It is crazy. I wish I had that video, but
he said that's why he believes in aliens because that's what he thinks they are. Okay, let's talk about this because this guy seems to think they're Nephilim, and that's what I think they are because we do know that Nephilim actually did exist. Okay, it's all about it in the book of Enoch, and many of them were destroyed during the floods. Let me put my overlay on here.
A patrol had basically gone missing.
Exactly.
Okay, and there's no villages around for miles.
Right.
So very remote.
Yeah, very remote. So we flew in. Did about 4 kilometers. We're hiking to the same area where they were supposed to make one of their checkpoints, you know, one of their rally points. And before we left, there was all kinds of what happened with the ambush. That was even odd because at point of ambush, we called for maybe close air support, something. Okay, there was no calls made, just off the grid. So we're coming down a mountainside, and it was a nice path, go path. As we bent around this corner, you could see this opening of the cave. There's a cave as we're coming around, and then I see there's a lot of rocks, which is another oddity, and then bone matter. When I'm not close enough to identify what kind of bones, but I did see something I knew was a piece of our communications equipment. So instantly, we're thinking ambush, maybe animal, you know, could be anything. And there was enough room in front of this cave, but it had a sheer drop off. But there was enough room that we actually got into a decent dispersal in case of ambush.
You see something coming out of the cave, and it's moving with a speed and agility that catches you off guard. Everybody.
And he comes out. It was a man at least 12 to 15 feet in height. This is a monster. Red beard. Then his hair was long past the shoulder, a scarlet red. And Dan runs at him and starts shooting, which broke all of us into the reality. Because it was so real.
Now your training is kicking in.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Muscle memory. Right. Complete muscle memory. While Dan is moving at him, another bro of mine laying down fire, and I start firing. He skewers dead. He's now got him on this pike. It went through him. And he's still got him, and he's coming after more. We all just clicked in. I don't know what it was, but I remember we're all like, shoot him in the face, shoot him in the face. And our weapons components were in force. We had 308s, and we had Barrett 50s. This is sounding longer than it took. We're talking 30 seconds. And he's taking multiple hits, and is still moving.
He talked about.
Now that was interesting. And those of you, if you've never researched Nephilim, the best source to research it from is the book of Enoch that was removed from the Bible. Okay, there were 14 books taken out of the Bible, and that's one of them. And if you ask me, there's a good reason they took it out. Okay, there's a good reason they took it out. Quiet Storm says, so they're only seeing this creature in Afghanistan. Well, I don't know if people are only seeing it in Afghanistan, but these soldiers who were stationed in Afghanistan, that's where they saw it. Okay, that's where they saw it. And they claimed that there was more than one. Some of them claimed that there was more than one. Let's go to this next clip. Yeah, Nephilim are absolutely fallen angels, Ryan. That's exactly what they are. They're fallen angels. In other words, demons. And when you see people getting possessed by malevolent spirits, it is often those same spirits of the Nephilim, because when they drowned in the flood, when they were destroyed in the great flood or whatever, their spirits still roam the earth. Okay? And so I think those are the things that we now see as demons that possess people. Okay, so let's get into this video.
I need y'all to watch this video and tell me what you think below in the comments.
In 2002, a U.S. Special Operations Unit, the Army Green Berets, encountered a giant hominid in the Kandahar mountains of Afghanistan. Their engagement with the giant left one of the unit dead, and the story of this engagement echoed through the rank and file of the Allied forces. The background to this story is that a military unit had gone missing in the Kandahar mountain range of Afghanistan. The Army Green Berets is an elite military unit, and it was sent in to hopefully locate and retrieve the missing unit. They had received no troops in combat notification. The unit had just gone silent and gone missing. Either they could be located and retrieved, or at least the Green Berets would find out what had happened to them. Well, they flew out to within 4 clicks of the last known location of that unit and searched for several days before they began finding evidence of the unit's presence in that area. And as they followed a mountain trail, they began to find bits and pieces of military equipment, and then fragments of military uniform, and then fragments of bone. Primed for a potential ambush, the Green Berets arrived on a plateau surrounded by cave entrances. Having taken a defensive position, the unit is met by a huge spear shot out of one of the caves, impaling Dan, one of the Green Berets. Suddenly, the assailant runs out of the cave, screaming and howling. A red-headed, red-bearded man of about 12 to 13 feet tall. The giant man pulls the spear out of Dan's body, only to be gunned down by 30 seconds of artillery fire.
I'm gonna put a link to the full video in the description. Make sure you go watch it.
2 helicopters were sent out to retrieve Dan's body and the body of the giant, who it was noted was red-haired, had 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot. Now, this account has been publicly confirmed by the C-130 pilot who flew the giant's remains out of that location and ultimately.
Now, do y'all hear that? It's been publicly confirmed. So people were not hallucinating. They absolutely saw what they saw and they killed it. And this is from the person who flew it out of there. Please pay attention.
To a research facility. And all this information was part of the original after action report. Having filed its after action report, the Green Berets unit was required to rewrite the report and to sign non-disclosure agreements to classify the details of the encounter. Now, the reason I take this account seriously is firstly because of who the account comes from. One of the Green Berets dispatched and involved in the engagement.
And that's another thing. Green Berets would not be out there looking for people that are missing from their own troops. They wouldn't be doing illegal substances. That's what they wouldn't have been doing. And there was no chemical warfare because they were not at war in that area. They were going to look for their people. Now, Mally says, Queen, I remember the video you showed us about the lady who asked her child if she remembers when she was born. And the child said she remembers crawling out of hell, LOL. I can't ever forget that. Yes, that was scary, right? Like, honey, what child are you? All nefarious. Okay. Thank you for that insight, your insight to the topic and your contribution to the channel, beloved. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings.
The C-130 pilot who has gone public 16 years after the event to confirm the details of this story. Secondly, because it's not the only account of giant sightings in Afghanistan from that period and in the years since. The reason a lot of people don't take the report seriously is nothing to do with the credibility of the witnesses or the sources, but because there is a ridicule factor around any story of giants in the 21st century. Now, it wasn't always the case, but right now our culture is in a place where any story of a giant encounter has to be treated as a joke. And even people who have credible information from credible witnesses who wish to tell this story, very often they'll do it, but treat it in a joking way because they think people simply won't accept a story about a giant in the 21st century. I have a third reason to take this story personally, and that is the number of people who have come to me personally with first-hand experiences of this kind and second-hand experiences of this kind.
Okay, so please pay attention how this is all nefarious. At the end of the day, here's the thing. It's always good to think outside of the box. That's what critical thinkers do. See, we don't just believe what we see in front of us because we know that we live in a matrix. Okay, truth is often stranger than fiction. Okay, at the end of the day, often stranger than fiction. And when different people that are credible and not just, people that will be making up something crazy, why would the military make this up? Because first of all, soldiers telling this kind of story would definitely not be to their benefit. Okay, that would not be to their benefit to just make up something like this. So anywho, let's continue.
Say they didn't find it. It found them first. In the early 2000s, U.S. Special Forces operating in a remote area near Kandahar responded to reports of missing patrols. The terrain was mountainous and isolated. Radio contact had been lost. According to later accounts from military personnel, the unit encountered a large humanoid creature near a cave entrance. It was described as standing between 10 and 12 feet tall, covered in hair, with a reddish beard and 6 fingers on each hand. Witnesses claimed the creature carried a spear-like weapon and moved aggressively toward the soldiers. Gunfire followed. The creature was reportedly killed after sustained fire. Accounts.
Now, another thing is they say that the soldier that it killed, that it literally impaled him with that spear and was holding it up like shaking him. It sounds like a scary sight to see. Okay, please pay attention. Now, this man right here talks about his family, saying that his family says they're not human and they come from some other race. So let's get into it. This is the last one, and then I'm out of here, beloveds. And I'll see you all tomorrow morning or afternoon, preferably afternoon.
I come from a family that they believe they are descendants of the old gods. That's the best way to say it. That they believe that they are carriers of a seed line that gives them the divine right to rule. And that is what gives them justification spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, scientifically to dominate the lesser species known as humans. Humans literally means a lesser species of man. And they do not believe they are a human in the same way. They believe they are something other than. And that's descendants of this hierarchical ruling species that is from the celestial realm that descended in the days of Jared and came down and procreated with the daughters of men, and that they still trace their seed line back to Gilgamesh, till Nimrod. And so this is what the dynastic families believe they have, is a superiority in their genetics on one side and the ability to commune with the divine. And so their children are progenitors of these, some might call them abreactions, mutations, these skills, psychic abilities, that kind of stuff, all variants of it. And so they raise up their children in this path with which involves a tremendous amount of shattering of the soul and the identity, so that there's compartmentalization within, and it allows them the ability to train their child up in a way that makes them conducive towards the family. I call them the family. That's what I called them. You know, it's a better word for mafia than anything else. But no, we didn't call ourselves, like my family wouldn't ever call themselves Illuminists. Yeah. Right? They're Luciferian. That's for certain. They worship Hallel and Shahar, as he's really known, but different reasons than what people are ascribed to. You know, the Reynolds family on my father's side, they're all from the East Coast out here, and they're a dynastic family. You know, like my great grandfather, a man named Don Potter Reynolds, was the architect, the head of engineering for the president, as the president of the American Society of Civil Engineering back in the 80s. And he's the one who put the new torch in the Luciferian hand of the Statue of Liberty of Columbia. And so he's a master Mason Luciferian in that way. And he was so much of the shot caller for the family at that time, especially when I came into being. And but my dad left that thing and moved out to the Southwest and started a different empire. And so a lot of how it works in the families is you got two main approaches. If you've got unlimited access to wealth, power, like really, I'm not talking about money, I'm talking about power, like unlimited raw power, where a phone call, the phone book, is far more powerful than the bank account, because it's who you know can open doors to power anywhere else in the entire world. And that's where everything was. So you can leave with nothing, but then you can go build. And if you need the phone book, there's a price to be paid. And the price to be paid is generally one of your children. This is like the reality. It seems bizarre to some, but
Y'all heard that? Said the price is one of your children. Okay, do y'all hear that? Okay, talking about sacrifices, one of your children. Please pay attention.
a child is generally a chosen child out of the family, is given over as an offering to the family. And they're the ones who's going to go through this left-hand path. They're going to experience the desecration of their soul, their identity, and they're going to become an agent for the family that is owned completely. And there's like a legal trustee that is given over to it. There's a board of directors that sits over it. Like, these are real legal confines for how the wealth is distributed out there. And so in order to build your empire, you got to be able to go prove yourself. And that's what he ended up doing out in the Southwest. He moved to Arizona, an area called Flagstaff, Arizona. And where I was born, that is a place that's a high place, Mount Humphreys. It's a volcanic peaks that sit there. And the top of it is where the Hopi Indian and a lot of people had gathered forever to commune with the fallen. They believed that the sons of the sky would come down every season at the winter solstice, and they would abide from the winter solstice to the summer solstice there. And so this was a place where they would give their daughters over to them. This is Hopi mythology, like 101, you know, and they would make these Kachina dolls, which were an effigy of the what I would say is a watcher angel that would come, and the daughter would be given to him, and she would place that over her bed throughout her life, you know, and that's her familiar spirit, right? That's where I was born into. And the people that still practice that old religion, that's the way I refer to it, they still do this. And they still take their children up there to give them over to them on these high days. And so I was born into that, and I was born through that seed line and into that ritual magic world. And but my mother's side are extreme Catholics and Jesuits through and through. And so her father ran a different operation in Southern California, which was much more based on the child exploitation side of the equation. And he operated out of Lake Havasu City, Arizona. Lake Havasu, for those of you that are unfamiliar, sits in the absolute desert border of Arizona and California, and it has the Colorado River that's been dammed up, and they created an artificial lake there. And it was a secret military base back in World War II. That was called Site 6. And it was a stopover point on crossing the desert for soldiers going there. And they would made it into a rest and recuperation area. And so it was a party city from its foundation. It had a lot of underground structures that were built into it as a refueling point. And in the 1960s, a guy named Robert P. McCulloch bought it. And he bought it, and he also purchased the London Bridge that crossed the River Thames. And he had it shipped over here stone by stone. And while they were doing that, they excavated 80 bodies that were entombed inside it in a practice that's called annulment, where you would sacrifice a person and bury them alive in the walls of the foundation. And so there's all these chambers in this facility of the London Bridge where they would do torture and all kinds of ritual stuff. But this is why the sing-song nursery rhyme, the London Bridge is falling down, falling down. That's a nursery rhyme to talk about how you have to give your children over to the government so you can hold up the London Bridge. And they would literally take their children. This is in the history book of the museum at Lake Havasu City. You can see these bodies of these children that were sacrificed inside the walls of that space. So he bought that as a charged object. He bought that as a portal mechanism. And they built in Lake Havasu City with another designer from the Disneyland. And they literally built a pleasure island. That's what it was facilitated for. And they designed it so that it would be a retirement community that would facilitate the exploitation of children. And that's exclusively what that city was founded and built for. And so the original founders of that operated out of Knights of Columbus predominantly as a wing of the Jesuits. And that's the business down there. It's an industry to cover up child. You got a bunch of old men running around with little boys, and everybody thinks they're grandchildren and nephews and nieces and all that rest. And so all along that area down there is where I would be taken from my earliest days and shattered, abused, traumatized, systemically so. But it's for behavioral modification purposes. That's the end goal of the abuse, is to shatter your willingness to resist and to break your will. And once they own you and you have been woefully convinced you can never get out, you give in. And that's what happened. I became the person who I was, died, and the person they wanted me to become was what was born out of that disgusting phoenix ashes. I saw men become monsters physically in front of my eyes. Other things come out of people's mouths. Other things come through their eyes.
Is that metaphorically or literally?
It's literally. I've seen men do nasty things like an animal, but then I've seen men become not people.
Like literally
not
change.
people. Yeah. Okay. And there is like lycanthropy, and there's these understandings of what the Watchers are capable of doing that most people are just woefully ignorant of. And that's why they're perishing. It's because they lack a basic understanding of history. And one of the predominant understandings of what a Watcher, specific class of celestial beings, is capable of is augmenting itself. They can shapeshift. That is by their nature. They're literally called metaskizmatotoi in the Greek, in the New Testament. And it's because he says it's marvel not, because Hasatan you could say like transforms himself. That's a good word for it. But he shapeshifts himself into an angel of light. And his messengers, his apostles, disciples, they do the same thing. And he's like, this is because they are capable of becoming anything they want to be in order to deceive on one side of the equation. And that's what they'll do. And so when people start engaging in these necromantic rituals and other stuff, and they start to seek the embodiment of these celestial ones, they can get these things on them and in them, and they can't contain them. And some of these guys who are messing with this stuff, who don't come from the bloodline, are incapable of cohabitating like a parasite, and they feed off of each other and they can't handle it. And so that's why families are recruited from these bloodlines, and children are recruited out, even if they don't know anything about it. Like you said, the vast majority of people who come from these bloodlines, there's a lot of muddying of the waters. There's a lot of purity that's been changed. There's a lot of half-breeds. And there's a lot of quarter breeds, right? There's a lot of people that don't know this stuff, and they start to get into lesser magic. And all of a sudden, it's like the doors of everybody open to them. But that's why. It's because they can host these things better. Whereas those that don't, they get taken over by this stuff, and they can't change back. They can't return, in a sense. Like, people become completely possessed and are incapable of expelling the darkness after that. And who do you turn to? You're going to go to the Catholic guy who's all into the same thing that you're into, Like, most people don't understand what a real deliverance is required for somebody that has gone down this far down, where they are consuming people. Like, that's a deep, devastating, psychological, spiritual shock, physical, your liver, like the health. This is why I'm huge into health, because I physically had to try to find ways to help people who have done all of these things. Like, the consumption of human blood does horrific things to the human body. And this is a major practice within this. These families do drink blood. That's why we have these vampire class of people. It's not some kind of myth. People consume blood in order to live, extend their life force. Like, this is a normal, you don't understand, this is a religion, you know, and this is a highly effective means of augmenting yourself. And so these watchers will give people this power. Their priest class will dispense that to people who want to go into, you know, like what I come from down there in the Apache reservation, the people that slip between realms and become animals. And I come from a family that
Okay, so I'm going to conclude the broadcast, beloveds. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Now, let me just say, the question about Hillary's emails and Nimrod and Gilgamesh, yeah, that absolutely was said. And there was someone who supposedly did a Freedom of Information Act to get the information, and they actually posted it. Okay, but they said that it's all fake. Please pay attention. I'm going to go to Now, I know you can't really see that, but this is what it says. It says, requesting documents pertaining to the resurrection chamber of Gilgamesh, the location of his body and the location of the buried Nephilim. And this is dated 12/13/2018. Okay, so that's, I guess, when they requested the information through the Freedom of Information Act. But, you know, they said Hillary talking about Nimrod and Gilgamesh was not true, that it was just rumors. But hey, don't they say that about a lot of things? Okay, Melissa said, Queen, I would love to hear your opinion on Florida license plates having part of the BB's People's flag on it. Florida stands with those people. The plates are available now for purchase. This is too wild. I'll look into it, beloved. I'll look into it. Okay, and then we'll probably talk about it tomorrow. Okay, so anyway, I love you all to life, and thank you for your insight into the topic, beloved, and your contribution. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Okay, so everyone, I will see you all tomorrow afternoon between 11:30 and 12. Okay, so until then, each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. And until next time, I will talk to you all again soon. Peace.
With that gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen. Why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunta. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. See a bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece, this time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen. Why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen. Why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got